5 years. That's how long I'd waited to hear the sound of that gate buzz open behind me. The air outside smelled different, fresher, colder, too real. I stood still for a second, holding a plastic bag with everything I owned. A wallet with $42, one photo of my mom, and a broken watch I couldn't throw away. The guard didn't even nod as he shut the gate behind me. Just like that, I was free. My name's Nate. I'm 36 years old, and I just walked out of a medium-security military detention facility in Southern California for a crime I didn't commit. The bus station was 3 miles down the highway. No one came to pick me up. No surprise there. I walked the first mile before a maintenance guy passed in a pickup and offered me a ride. Didn't talk much, just dropped me off and left. The bus was half empty. I picked a window seat and stared out as we rolled past towns I didn't recognize anymore. Everything looked new, louder, too fast. My phone didn't even turn on. The battery was dead, like the life I used to have. 5 years ago, everything was different. I had a house, a wife, a future. I was on track to be the youngest lead mechanical engineer at Holstner Logistics, which just happened to be owned by my father-in-law, Leo. I was the poor kid who married up. Julia, his daughter, was all champagne smiles and Ivy League pride. We met at a tech expo in Sacramento. Fell fast. Married within the year. Her friends said it was too quick. Leo said I was beneath her. Julia didn't care, or pretended not to. After the wedding, Leo suddenly warmed up. Offered me a director position in one of his logistics divisions. Said he saw potential. Truth was, I worked twice as hard just to keep up. But we had savings, dinner parties, 2 vacations a year. My mom moved into an apartment I bought her just across town. Life felt solid. For once I was building something that mattered. Then came the night everything flipped. Rain was coming down in sheets. I was asleep when the call came in. Julia was crying. I rushed to the scene. A pedestrian had been hit. She was shaking behind the wheel, mascara running, screaming she didn't see him, begging me to help. I smelled alcohol but kept my mouth shut. Then came the line that broke me. I'm pregnant, Nate. Please, they'll ruin us. Just say it was you. Just this once. I'd had 2 beers, enough to make it believable. I made the call, took the breathalyzer, got cuffed. She sobbed the whole time. The lawyer Leo sent barely said a word in court. The judge gave me 5 years. The bus slowed, a stop ahead. I didn't get off. I just stared at my reflection in the glass. I looked like a stranger. The bus rolled on. I didn't know where I was going, just away. They processed me fast back then. Fingerprints, jumpsuit, a pat down by some kid with 0 respect. Within hours I was in my cell. Bunk bed, concrete walls, toilet in the corner, smelled like bleach and sweat. No one looked at me. No one said a word. Next morning, I was pulled into a side room with a counselor. She sat there, clipboard in hand, like she'd done this 1,000 times. "I'm sorry to inform you," she said without looking up. "Your mother passed away during your sentencing." I stared at her, not understanding the words. She collapsed in the courtroom, cardiac arrest. EMS couldn't revive her. I remember blinking, just blinking. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Everything in my chest cracked open at once. "You'll be allowed to grieve in your own time," she said, standing. "But there will be no funeral attendance. You're in custody." I didn't say a damn thing, just walked back to my cell like I was already dead too. Julia showed up a week later. 1 visit. That was it. She sat on the other side of the glass like a stranger, hair done up, red lipstick, expensive coat like she was heading to brunch. Her eyes were cold. No apology, no sadness. "I'm so sorry about your mom," she said, but it sounded rehearsed. I leaned forward. "What's going on with the appeal? Did the lawyer—" "There is no appeal, Nate." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean, no appeal? You said—" "I said a lot of things," she cut in. "It wouldn't help. You confessed. The judge made his ruling." "I confessed for you," I snapped. "You said you were pregnant. We had a deal." She flinched just barely. Then she looked me dead in the eye. "There is no baby. I lost it. And I blame you. The stress, the arrest, it was too much." I just sat there, stunned. She lowered her voice. "I filed for divorce." That was it. That was the moment. The switch flipped. Something inside me turned off, and I never got it back. By the time I was transferred to medium security, word had already spread. That's the guy who took the fall. I kept my head down, didn't talk unless I had to. A couple of the older inmates told me real quiet, "Don't stir anything up." Her daddy's got connections everywhere. One guy even warned me, people who ask too many questions around you end up in solitary. So I didn't ask. I didn't fight. No calls, no visits, no packages. I stopped counting the days after the first 6 months. Nobody wrote, nobody checked in. Even the lawyer disappeared. It was like I'd never existed. I started eating less, didn't sleep much. I barely spoke to anyone. I didn't care if I got jumped or stabbed or whatever. Let it happen. But nobody touched me. Maybe Leo paid to keep me quiet. Maybe they just didn't want the mess. Doesn't matter. I learned how to fade, kept my head down in the yard, made my bunk perfect every morning, cleaned my tray spotless. Routine was survival. Inmates called me Ghost. Fitting. The worst part wasn't the time. It wasn't the food or the guards or the concrete bed. It was the silence. The way the world moved on without me. 5 years. No one came, not once. When the bus finally pulled into the old station in Modesto, the sun was setting, casting everything in that dusty orange glow I remembered from high school. I stepped off with my paper bag and a busted back from the stiff seat. No one was waiting. No one knew I was coming. Hell, no one cared. I walked the 1.5 miles to the apartment I'd bought from my mom, back when the money was still rolling in. Top floor of a rundown brick building with peeling paint, but a decent view. She loved that place. I took the stairs slow. My key was still on my ring, but when I tried it, it didn't fit. Before I could knock, the door swung open. Some guy with a beer gut, tank top, and piss-yellow teeth stood there like I was selling something. "The hell you want?" I kept my tone calm. "I used to live here. This was my mother's apartment." He snorted. "Yeah, well, now it's mine. Bought it cash last year. Got the deed and everything. You can take your sad ex-con ass somewhere else." I didn't move. My brain was still trying to catch up. "She didn't sell this. It was in my name." "Then maybe talk to whoever signed your name, genius. Place was listed. I bought it legal. You don't like it, call a lawyer." He slammed the door in my face. I stood there for a few seconds, just staring at that dented wood, like maybe it would open again and be her behind it. But it didn't. Next door cracked open. "Nate?" I turned. Mrs. Rowan, late 70s, frail, always wore orthopedic shoes and smelled like menthol. She used to bring my mom groceries when her knees got bad. "Oh, honey," she said, stepping into the hall with a look that crushed me. "We didn't know how to reach you. We tried." "What happened?" I asked, voice hoarse. She nodded toward the stairs. "Come on down. Let's talk where it's warm." Her apartment hadn't changed a bit. Same floral couch, same dusty framed puzzles on the wall. She poured me sweet tea without asking. I couldn't drink it. "I'm sorry about your mama," she said. "She was so proud of you. Every week she'd tell me, 'My boy's gonna build airplanes one day.'" I looked down. I didn't even know she died until after the sentencing. She collapsed in that courtroom, right there in front of everyone. Heart just gave out. I swallowed hard. "She's buried next to your daddy, back home in Hillmere. A few of us from the building chipped in to get her there." My chest ached in a way I didn't know was still possible. "She should have had me there." "You should have," she said softly. "But none of that was fair. None of it." I wiped my face and stood. "I'll find a motel. Thanks for the tea." She stopped me at the door. "You got no money? You can stay in the basement room, the janitor's old place. Not much, but it locks and has heat. We've been using it for storage since Walter passed." I hesitated. "And my nephew needs help at the packaging plant. It's temp work, but honest pay." The offer hit like a slap. I wasn't ready to scrub toilets or stack boxes. Not yet. "I'll take the room," I said. "Not the job." She gave me a long look. "Suit yourself." I followed her down to the basement. The hallway stank of mildew. She flicked on a light and opened the rusted door. The room was barely 8 by 10. Concrete walls, one cot, one chair. A sink with brown stains and a mirror cracked down the center. But it had a door. And it was mine. I didn't sleep much in that basement room. By morning, my jaw hurt from grinding my teeth. There was one thing left I had to do. One door I hadn't knocked on yet. The mansion sat on a hill outside town, hidden behind iron gates and trimmed hedges that cost more than my old truck ever did. I walked up the long drive until a security cart rolled up and blocked my path. "You can't be here," the guard said, already reaching for his radio. "I'm here to see Julia," I said. "She knows my name." He looked me over, eyes dropping to my worn jacket and scuffed boots. "That's not happening. Leave the property." "I'll wait," I said. "You'll wait off the road." I stepped back to the shoulder and stood there, arms crossed, heart pounding like it was ready to punch out of my chest. 15 minutes passed, then 30. A black luxury sedan rolled through the gate, smooth and quiet. It slowed when it reached me. Julia sat in the back seat, the window lowered. Her eyes flicked over me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. "Nate," she said, "you shouldn't be here." I stepped closer. "You don't get to decide that." She sighed and nodded at the guard. "Give us a minute." The guard backed off but stayed close enough to hear. Julia stepped out of the car. Perfect hair, designer coat. Same posture she had in court when the verdict came down. Calm, untouched. "Why did you sell my mother's apartment?" I asked. She didn't blink. "I had power of attorney after your conviction. It was handled legally." "You stripped everything I had," I said. "You didn't even tell me she died." "That wasn't my responsibility," she replied. "You were the one who chose prison." I laughed once, sharp and ugly. "I chose to protect you." She tilted her head. "You were driving, Nate. You admitted it. You told me you were pregnant." "There was never a baby," she said flatly. The words hit harder than any punch I took inside. I felt my balance slip but forced myself to stay upright. "You lied," I said. "Yes," she answered. "Because the truth would have destroyed my family, my father's career, everything we built." "We?" I asked. She folded her arms. "You knew what this marriage was. You were useful. You fit the image. And when things went wrong, you did what you were supposed to do." My ears rang. "You let me rot." "You served your sentence," she said. "That's how the system works." A second car pulled into the drive behind hers. A silver coupe. The door opened. Kyle stepped out. My former assistant. The kid I trained. The one who used to bring me spreadsheets and ask for advice like I was some kind of hero. He froze when he saw me. Julia didn't even glance back. "Kyle runs your old division now. He's very good at it." Kyle cleared his throat. "Hey, Nate, I didn't know you were coming." I looked at him and felt nothing. Not anger, not surprise, just confirmation. "So this is it," I said. "You take my job, my wife, my life." Julia stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You never belonged here. This was always temporary." I nodded slowly. "I see that now." She smiled like she'd won something. "Good. Then we're done." I turned away from the mansion, from the cars, from all of it, and walked back down the drive without looking back. For the first time in 5 years, the truth was clear. And I kept walking. I walked downhill until my legs burned and my head stopped buzzing. The city noise faded into a dull hum. I checked my wallet, still $42. Not enough for rent, barely enough for food. The pawn shop sat between a vape store and a payday loan place. Neon sign flickering like it was tired of pretending. I stepped inside, then stopped short. The watch was heavy in my palm. Gold band, scratched face. Julia gave it to me on our second anniversary. Said it meant forever. I stared at it, thinking how easy it would be to trade it for a few bills and a lecture about resale value. I turned around and walked back out. Across the street, a small cafe had a trash can by the door. I stood there for a second, then tossed the watch in. It hit the bottom with a dull clink and disappeared under coffee cups and napkins. That was it. Last piece of that life gone. Inside the cafe, it smelled like burnt coffee and cinnamon. I ordered the cheapest thing on the board and took a seat by the window. I hadn't even taken a sip when a voice cut through the room. "Nate?" I looked up. Mr. Weller stood there, older, thinner, same calm eyes. My high school shop teacher. The guy who taught me how to weld, how to measure twice, how to fix things instead of throwing them away. "No way," he said, smiling. "I heard rumors, but I didn't believe it." I stood up. "Mr. Weller," he pulled me into a quick hug before I could stop him. "Sit. Tell me what the hell happened." We talked in short bursts. He didn't push, didn't pry, just listened. When I mentioned my mom, his face changed. "We brought her home," he said quietly. What? I asked. After the trial, Julia's people didn't want the expense. So a few of us from Hillmere, old neighbors, church folks, we took up a collection, paid to have her buried next to your dad. I swallowed hard. I didn't know. He nodded. Didn't figure you would, but she's at peace. Good spot too. Oak tree nearby. My chest tightened. I stared at the table so he wouldn't see my eyes. She always bragged about you, he went on. Said you were building a life bigger than that town ever offered. I laughed under my breath. Guess she was wrong. No, he said. Life just took a wrong turn. He leaned back. You should come home, Nate. Town's not what it used to be, but it's still home. Folks remember you. I hesitated. Home meant gravel roads, silence, ghosts. But it also meant my parents, my name. A place that hadn't lied to me. I don't have anything, I said. You don't need anything, he replied. Just come back. We finished our coffee. He left me his number on a napkin and squeezed my shoulder before heading out. I sat there for another minute, then stood up and walked out into the street. The city felt colder now, meaner. I crossed to the bus station and bought a one-way ticket. When the bus doors opened, I climbed aboard and didn't look back. The bus wheezed into Hillmere just after noon, brakes squealing like they hadn't been serviced in 10 years. I stepped off into the dirt lot that passed for a station. It looked the same, only more tired. The diner on Main was boarded up. The gas station sign was half lit. One old man on a bench gave me a glance, then went back to smoking. The walk to the cemetery was quiet. Dusty wind, crows on the power lines. I followed the path I used to bike down as a kid, past the field where I broke my arm playing tackle football with the Burrows twins. The cemetery gate creaked like it always had. I knew where to go. Corner plot, near the tree. I knelt in front of the headstones. Daniel Whitmore, Mary Whitmore. No flowers, no visitors. Just dirt and faded names. I'm sorry, I said. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. I stayed there for a while, long enough for the sun to shift. I told them everything I hadn't had the chance to. About the deal I made, the years I lost, the promise I broke, about the house I swore I'd build for her. I told them how much it still hurt. I didn't cry, but I wanted to. I was brushing dust off the stone when I heard the crunch of boots behind me. Is that you, Nate Whitmore? I turned around. George Tanner, late 70s, heavy set, missing 2 fingers on his left hand. He used to fix trucks in his garage and hand out popsicles in summer. It's me, George. He broke into a grin. Well, I'll be damned. Thought you were dead or famous. Neither. He clapped me on the back. Glad to see you back. We heard things. Nobody ever knew what really happened. Not much to say, I replied. He didn't push. You staying long? Not sure yet. You need a place? He asked. We got the old shed out back. I could clean it up. Before I could answer, his wife appeared from behind the fence. Thin, sharp eyes, arms crossed. George, who's that? It's Nate Whitmore, Mary's boy. She frowned. He's the one from the news. He gave her a look. Don't start. I'm not starting. I'm saying we don't know him anymore. She turned and walked off without another word. I kept my face still. It's all right? George sighed. She never did forgive your uncle for stealing her mower back in '98. Don't take it personal. I won't. Still, good to see you, kid. Real good. We shook hands and went our separate ways. I walked back toward town, past the old school, the fire station, the faded church with the peeling steeple. Outside the library, someone called my name again. Mr. Weller. He waved me over. Find the graves? Yeah. He studied me. You look lighter. Feels heavier. That'll pass. We walked together toward the diner. New ownership, fresh paint. Inside, the booths were half full. He ordered meatloaf and sweet tea. I just asked for water. I've got a guest room, he said. Not fancy, but better than a floor. You sure? Wouldn't offer if I wasn't. I nodded. Thanks. He took a bite of his meatloaf, then added, I also set up a meeting. Town council leader wants to talk. Name's Chris Dunley. Chris? I blinked. From Little League? Same one. He's in charge now? Somebody had to step up. Town's shrinking. Good people still here, though. They remember who you were. I'm not that kid anymore. He gave me a look. Maybe not. But you're still here. That counts for something. I didn't answer. I just looked out the window at the town I left behind. The next morning, I shook Chris Dunley's hand across the scratched surface of the town hall conference table. He looked different than I remembered. Bigger, heavier, a touch of gray in his beard. But his handshake still had the same honest grip. "We got a position," he said. "Forest groundskeeper, wildlife steward. 5 miles out in the conservation zone. Comes with a cabin, 4-wheeler, and enough solitude to keep a monk happy." I raised an eyebrow. "That job still exist?" "Barely," he said. "But the trails are getting overgrown, and poachers have been pushing in from the west. You'd be doing real work, not just picking up trash." I didn't ask about the pay. I didn't care. "I'll take it." Chris nodded, like he'd been hoping I would. "Cabin's old, but solid. You'll want to patch the roof before the snow comes." I spent the first week hauling trash bags, chopping fallen limbs, and scaring off raccoons that thought they owned the place. The roof leaked, the windows rattled, mice had taken over the pantry. I spent nights on the porch with a flashlight and a hammer, fixing whatever I could see in the moonlight. It was the first time in years I'd chosen something for myself. By the second month, the trails were clear. I started learning the animal patterns, where the deer bedded down, where the foxes crossed at dusk. My hands toughened, my mind quieted. No traffic, no noise. Just wind in the trees and the creak of floorboards under my boots. One afternoon, I found a mutt limping near the dirt road, skinny, filthy, shaking like a leaf. I whistled. He didn't run. I carried him back, wrapped in my jacket, and fed him boiled chicken from my own plate. After 2 days, he stopped growling when I reached for him. I named him Rocket. No reason, just felt right. We became a team. He followed me through the woods, chased squirrels, barked at falling branches like he was guarding the whole damn mountain. That night the baby showed up. It was Rocket who heard it first. Low whine, ears up, staring at the trees like something wasn't right. I opened the cabin door and listened. There it was, crying, weak, broken, but steady. Not animal, human. I grabbed a flashlight and followed the sound down the path to the edge of the tree line. My boots crunched over dead leaves. The air was freezing, my breath fogging the beam. Under the largest pine, I saw the basket. It was lined with blankets, cheap, clean, still warm. The baby inside was tiny, face red, fists clenched, voice hoarse from crying. No note, no name, just left. I stood there, frozen, couldn't move, couldn't speak. Rocket sat beside me, head tilted. I knelt down and picked the baby up. He stopped crying the second I touched him. I backed toward the cabin with the baby tucked inside my jacket and my phone pressed to my ear. The dispatcher kept me talking while Rocket paced circles around my legs. "Is the baby breathing?" "Yes. Keep him warm. Ambulance is en route." Headlights cut through the trees 15 minutes later. Red lights bounced off the cabin walls. A young paramedic jumped out before the engine even shut off. "I'm Mia," she said, already reaching for the baby. "You did the right thing." She worked fast, checked fingers, toes, pupils, wrapped him tighter, listened to his chest. "He's cold, but stable," she said. "Whoever left him didn't want him found." That line landed heavy. She looked at me then, really looked, like she was taking inventory of the moment. "You okay?" "Yeah," I lied. At the hospital, they took the baby to NICU for observation. No injuries, no drugs, just exposure and neglect. The doctor said he was lucky. Mia stood beside me in the hallway, arms crossed, jaw tight. She stared through the glass like she couldn't look away. "People don't leave babies like trash," she said. "Some do," I answered. She flinched. I drove her back to the cabin after her shift ended. The roads were empty, frost creeping across the windshield. We didn't talk much. Inside, I put a kettle on. She sat near the fire, hands wrapped around the mug I handed her. "Thank you for letting me stay," she said. "You saved his life." She shook her head. "You did." The fire popped. Rocket snored near the hearth. "My husband and son died 3 years ago," she said suddenly. I didn't interrupt. Drunk driver crossed the center line. I was on shift that night. Got the call on the radio. Her voice stayed steady, but her eyes didn't. "My boy was 8 months old." "I'm sorry," I said. She nodded once. I don't say it out loud much. After that, she started visiting the hospital on her days off. I did too. We didn't plan it, we just kept showing up. Same hours, same chair. Watching that tiny chest rise and fall. Weeks passed. One afternoon, she sat down hard and rubbed her face. I asked about adopting him, and she swallowed. They said no, single income, no family support, too risky. I didn't answer right away. I watched the baby kick his feet, fighting the blanket. I want him, she said, but I can't. I stood up. The words were already there. Then don't do it alone. She looked at me, confused. What are you saying? We get married, I said. On paper, we adopt him together. Her eyes widened. Nate, I'm not asking for a fairy tale, I cut in. I'm asking for a chance to give that kid a home. She stood too. You don't even know me. I know enough, I said. You show up. You stay. Silence filled the room. Nurses moved in the background. The baby let out a soft sound, then settled. Mia stared at the floor. Then she looked up. Okay, she said. She reached out and took my hand. We got married at City Hall 3 weeks later. No dress, no suit, no guests. Just paperwork and tired eyes. The clerk asked if we were sure. We both nodded. Afterward, we sat in the parking lot with fast food and silence between us. The baby slept in the back seat. He had a name now, Ethan. We signed the adoption papers that same afternoon. At first, it felt like a contract. We moved into a modest house near the edge of the woods, closer to town but still quiet. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, cheap tile floors. She took the master, I took the guest room. We raised Ethan like 2 people building a campfire from wet sticks, figuring it out as we went. We weren't in love, not then. But she made the coffee strong, and I always fixed her car without her asking. 6 months in, I found myself waiting for her to laugh at something dumb I said. One night, I caught her watching me feed Ethan with a look I couldn't name. By the time his first birthday rolled around, I wasn't sleeping in the guest room anymore. A year later, Mia was pregnant. We didn't plan it, but neither of us flinched. She told me on the back porch, hand on her stomach, eyes steady. You okay with this? She asked. I nodded. Yeah, more than okay. My job kept growing too. Chris pushed for me to take over as chief land steward. I handled the full territory, conservation, wildlife management, controlled burns, public education. I gave talks at the school. Kids called me Mr. Nate. Ethan grew up on dirt trails and pine needles, brave, curious, stubborn as hell. Then came Clara, born with a full head of black hair, and 2 years later, Owen, who didn't cry at birth, just stared like he already knew this world was hard. We were a family. It didn't look like anyone else's. But it was real. Then one rainy Thursday, we stopped at a roadside diner off Route 8, driving home from Mia's doctor appointment. She was pregnant again, early days. Ethan spilled ketchup. Clara kept asking if she could name the new baby Toaster. I went to the counter for more napkins and saw her. Julia, hair tied back, cheap apron, hands full of plates. She froze. I could tell she recognized me. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She walked over slowly. Nate, she said. I looked her over. She looked tired. Older, not glamorous, not powerful, just done. You look good, she added. I nodded once. We're fine. She glanced at the table, at Mia, the kids. Her lips twitched. I didn't know you had children. You don't know anything about me, I said calmly. I wanted to reach out. I shook my head. Don't. I just thought, maybe after all this time, I looked her dead in the eye. I don't feel anything, Julia. Not anger, not hate, nothing. That stopped her. She opened her mouth again, then shut it. Walked away without another word. I went back to the table. Clara was feeding Rocket French fries under the booth. Mia raised an eyebrow. Everything okay? Perfect, I said, and I meant it. The air was sharp that morning. Leaves crunching under boots, kids wrapped in flannel, Rocket trotting ahead like he owned the trail. The sky was clear, cold, bright. Exactly how fall's supposed to feel. Ethan hiked beside me, taller than last year, smarter too. 10 years old and already asking questions I wasn't ready for. Why do deer need feeders if they live out here? He asked. They don't need them, I said. But winters get rough. We help when we can. He nodded like he understood more than he let on. Clara ran ahead, chasing Rocket with a stick, and Owen brought up the rear, focused on every pine cone like it was treasure. We hit the clearing near the ridge, where I kept the big feeder stocked. Ethan watched me refill it, arms crossed, serious. "Can I do it next time?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "You're ready." Later, we stopped by the cemetery. I handed the kids rags and let them help clean the stones. My dad's was chipped. My mom's still had the rose design I picked. Ethan stood quiet a minute, then looked at me. "Did they know me?" I shook my head. "No, but they would have loved you." He thought about that. "Is it true you went to jail?" he asked, eyes steady. "Yeah," I said. "I did." "For something bad?" "For something I didn't do." He looked down. "Did it hurt?" "Yeah," I said. "But I got through it." He nodded. "Was Mom there?" "She showed up," I said. "That's what matters." He was quiet for a second longer, then said, "Family's who shows up when it matters, right?" I smiled. "That's exactly right." At home, the kitchen smelled like cinnamon and burnt sugar. Mia was pulling a pie from the oven, smudges of flour on her cheek. Clara was on a stool, stirring something she probably wasn't supposed to. Owen dumped plastic dinosaurs on the floor. Rocket curled up by the fire, tail twitching in a dream. I leaned in the doorway and took it all in. The mess, the warmth, the sound of Ethan laughing as he kicked off his boots. I thought about the road that brought me here, about steel doors and courtroom lies, about the cold nights, the silence, the people who turned their backs. And I thought about Mia, about that baby in the woods, about Ethan asking questions that mattered. Forest, family, fire. That's what I had now. And that's enough. Thank you for being with us. Don't miss our new stories. They're coming soon. If you haven't yet, please leave a like and follow the page to see more great content. Your support means a lot to us and motivates us to create even more warm, meaningful stories. See you next time. Take care and stay curious.